Evangelicals have been a mainstay of the Republican Party since the Reagan era. Any serious desertion could be disastrous for the party.
And deep-seated cultural codes, religious beliefs, and structural biases have to be changed.
Jesus lays on that hippie stuff pretty thick. He has lines like, "Do not repay evil with evil, and do not take revenge on someone who wrongs you." Really? It's in that book you hold up when you scream at gay people. There's interpreting, and then there's just ignoring. It's just ignoring if you're for torture, as are more evangelical Christians than any other religion. You're supposed to look at that figure of Christ on the cross and think, how could a man suffer like that and forgive? But you see, I can say that because I'm a non-Christian, just like most Christians. And Christians, I know, I'm sorry, I know you hate this and you want to square this circle, but you can't. I'm not even judging you. I'm just saying logically, if you ignore every single thing Jesus commanded you to do, you're not a Christian. You're just auditing.
Because this is a book about what's happened to American Christianity in the last 50 years.
Right.
And the good news for you, as an atheist, an occasional critic of organized religion, is that organized religion weaker than ever before.
Yes.
Right? You know, I see some members of the audience, think that's good news. So,
yes.
You know, mainline Protestantism, steep decline, my own Catholic Church racked by scandal and so on.
No, you criticize both sides. You say the right, they've hurt religion because they've made it anti-intellectual, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
But isn't all religion? I'm not insulting here. I'm just saying.
No, you're just describing. No, I understand.
It is, by its very nature, anti-intellectual.
Well, let me
give you an example.
Professor Mark Knoll of Wheaton College said that the scandal of the evangelical mind is that there's not much of an evangelical mind. Os Guinness is a Christian apologist, and he says that evangelical anti-intellectualism is a scandal and a sin, and it needlessly keeps people, serious people, from coming to Christ. For the past several months, I've been having theological discussions with my late 20-year-old nephew. My nephew was raised in an evangelical church. His dad was the pastor, and he rants against evangelicals. He rants against their anti-intellectualism, their bigotry, and their naivete about cultural trends and events and solutions to the world's problems. I played golf with a Gen Y Presbyterian pastor, and he told me he'd just finished doing a series of sermons against evangelicalism. Now, I was really surprised to hear that, and I think he perhaps was doing that series against the behaviors of evangelicals and not necessarily the official definition of evangelicals, but it made me wonder. I have a 40-year-old cousin in Illinois who is the pastor of an Assembly of God church, and a lot of his congregation are millennials, and he tells me that those millennials in his church have a strong aversion to being identified as evangelicals, and so he stays away from using that term. And likewise, he does not really publicize the fact that his church is actually an Assembly of God church. Instead, he goes by the more general term, Compass. So you see, here in America, it is a very popular thing to make fun of evangelicals. And they tend to group evangelicals into one specific mindset. So I'd like to do a study on what does it mean to be an evangelical? What's the history of evangelicalism? What are the essential Christian doctrines of evangelicals? And finally, is it intellectually reasonable to have the faith of an evangelical? And after we study all of those topics, finally answer the questions for each one of us. Could I possibly be an evangelical? If you're interested in this study, please join me.